Ladies and gentlemen, beer enthusiasts, welcome back to another What the Brew episode here on Ideal Homebrewing. Today, we're taking a dive into the Belgian styles, just as the title says. So if you're looking for Belgians, you've come to the right spot. Today, we're going to taste one, we're going to talk about the many styles, but only highlight a few of them, and we're going to look at the history as well. So don't go anywhere. Intro in 3, 2. You might be wondering why I chose a Belgian style to talk about today for What the Brew. The answer to that question is, spoiler alert, the next beer that I'm brewing is a golden Belgian style ale. So I'm pretty excited for that. In the meantime, however, until I can drink my own Belgian beer, today I have chose Saison by Boulevard Brewing. It's their take on a Belgian style light beer. This sits at 4.4% and it has an IBU of 15. So a pretty light beer, both in color and alcohol as well. So we'll give this a quick pour. Alright, so the head on this is a lot shorter than some of the other heads that we've seen. It smells like orange and yeast, which you'll learn here in just a little bit as a pretty defining character with Belgian beers. Very yeasty. Alright, let's give it a try. Cheers. Wow, very light on the tongue. Not very thick. Citrusy orange is the main flavor there. And it doesn't have much of a strong yeast taste, actually. Nice and light bodied. Carbonation is there, but it's not overpowering or anything. I mean, it doesn't fizz up a lot on your tongue or anything like that. So overall, I'd give Saison a pretty good rating. So if you're interested, you can probably find it almost anywhere. I got it at Hy-Vee, so to Saison. Now I know that I say every beer style is unique, but I'm telling you the truth, and I can't exaggerate enough how unique a Belgian style is. They reside like exotic creatures in a different realm that are sort of hard to understand, and it's a hit or miss. Some Belgian beers are light in color and alcohol, similar to this one. Others are very dark and boozy. Some are made with spices, some are made with fruit. Some are as sour as a lemon, and others are like shoving a fistful of candy into your mouth. It's just so sweet. What unites all the different styles of Belgian beers is their light bodiness, low bitterness, and a yeasty quality that's often coined as being funky. In fact, Belgian beers are so far out there that the word Belgian is often used to describe other beers that aren't even a Belgian beer. So how did a country that wasn't even independent until 1830 invent and hold such a quirky, weird, diverse beer? The only place to find those answers is in the beer Bible. Let's take a look. It all started with the Catholic Church in the 1100s. Yes, you heard that right. Wow! They began brewing beer to serve as an alternative to dirty drinking water and also generate income for the church. What a fun pope, huh? Jump forward to the 1800s and the French Revolution is going on. It's driving a bunch of monks from Normandy to what is now Belgium. Remember, Belgium wasn't a country until like 30 years later. Once the monks arrived in Belgium, they joined a monastery and became known as the Trappists, not to be confused with trapeze, and they began brewing beer. These monks then went on to open a brewery called the Westmalle Brewery in 1836, which was of course located within a monastery. Here's the kicker though, they only sold their Trappist beer to other monasteries and monks. Hashtag gotta be a monk, punk. Another important thing to note here is that in order for a beer to be labeled as a Trappist beer, a portion of the revenue has to go towards helping the local community or the church itself. It took 30 years before they decided to open up their beer to the public so that everyone could enjoy it. Hashtag not a monk, not a problem. Wow! Not every Belgian beer is a Trappist beer. Think of it more as a point of origin rather than a specific style of beer. Nevertheless, breweries all around the world were inspired by the unique brewing process and flavor of these beers. The process called for a 5-vessel system, which is a lot, and an average boil time of 9 hours, with the longest being 20. Normal boil time for a brew is 1 hour. They also used a very odd method for cooling down the wort after it was done boiling. They put it on long, wide, flat trays known as cool ships. Hey! Cool ship, bro. Ship, with a P. Not what you think you heard. Because of the way they cooled their wort, wild yeast would infect the beer, like a lot. So what they would do is add more yeast to the already cold beer, and that didn't do anything. Well, I mean, except for give it that weird funky flavor that is so iconic in Belgian beers. Nowadays, of course, this process has been refined and tweaked a little bit so that it's a little bit more sanitary and you're less likely to get gross bacteria in your beer. However, they still manage to keep that funk. As mentioned previously, there are many different styles of Belgian beers. There's the Blonde Ale, the Golden Strong Ale, the Pale Ale and Wheat. There's Dubbel, Tripel, Quadrupel, Saison, Lambic, Flanders, and Christmas. Now, I'm not going to go over all the styles because some of them belong to a different category that we'll cover later in a different What the Brew episode. And let's be real, no one wants to listen to me talk for that long. I would go on and on and on, and I'd probably end up finishing my beer before that, so I won't put you through that pain. Let's get on to the list, shall we? First on the list is what I am drinking today, and that's the Blonde Ale. Or at least I think that's a Blonde Ale. It sits at an ABV of 6.3 to 7.9 and has an IBU of 15 to 30. It's usually pale to light amber and typically an easy drinking beer, well balanced with sweetness, fruity flavors, and sometimes a little bit of spice. The highest rated beer for the Blonde Ale comes from a Trappist brewery that I will not try to pronounce because I will butcher it very badly. However, the beer itself is named Trappist Westvleteren Blonde. Second on the list we have the Golden Strong Ale. It's typically a little bit heavier in alcohol than the Blonde Ale. It sits at an ABV of 7.1 all the way up to 11.2 with an IBU of 20 to 50. It is usually pale to copper in color with fruity flavors from pear, orange, and apple. The #1 highest rated beer for the Golden Strong actually comes from a place here in the United States out of Colorado called Tripel by 12th Degree Brewing. Third on the list is the Belgian style Pale Ale. It sits at an ABV of 4.1 to 6.3 with an IBU of 20 to 30. It is usually gold to copper in color with caramel or toasted malt flavor. The style is characterized by the low but noticeable hop bitterness similar to an IBA, but not really, because it's a Belgian beer. The highest rated beer for a Belgian style Pale Ale comes from Ideal Brewing, and the beer name is Ideal Trappist Ale. Fourth on the list we have the Dubbel. This sits at a 6.3 to 7.6 ABV with an IBU of 20 to 35. It's often brown or dark, similar to a stout, and also is sweet and can have a very sort of cocoa malt aroma, again sort of similar to a stout. But the thing that makes it very different is the yeast that it's used. It often has a banana flavor or cereal-like aroma. And the highest rated beer for the Dubbel comes once again from the brewery that I cannot pronounce, and this one is called Trappist Westvleteren 8. Alright, so fifth on the list we have the Tripel. This really has nothing in common with the Dubbel at all. The only reason I can think of that it's called Tripel is because it has more alcohol than the Dubbel. But if you remember, a Dubbel is dark, a Tripel is not. It sits at an ABV of 7.1 to 10.1% and an IBU of 20 to 45. It's often pale to pale gold and spicy with complex yeast flavors that are also slightly fruity. It's sort of an odd combination, I know. The highest rated beer for a Tripel, and I'm going to try to pronounce this the best I can, comes from Unibrow, and their beer named La Fin du Monde. Alright, we're getting to the end. We got 2 more to go. Sixth on the list of 7 is Quadrupel. So Quadrupel sits at 9.1 to 14.2% ABV with an IBU of 25 to 50. This one is amber to dark brown in color, so it's a little bit lighter than your Dubbels. Caramel, dark sugar, and malty flavors dominate and are complemented by fruity flavors from raisins, dates, figs, grapes, and or plums. Now, don't be caught off guard because this is called Quadrupel for a reason. The alcohol flavor is very present. And once again, the highest rated beer on beeradvocate.com comes from the brewery that I cannot pronounce. The beer is Trappist Westvleteren 12. You should definitely check out some of the beers that they have. They only brew 4. Or maybe it's 3. They only brew 3 beers. And finally, what you have all been waiting for is the 7th and final beer on the list, Saison. A Saison is often gold to light amber and has high carbonation and lactic, fruity, goaty, horsey, or leathery-like flavors and aromas. Lactic means acidic, by the way. These are commonly called farmhouse ales. Sounds amazing, right? The highest rated Saison Belgian beer is Anne by Hill Farmstead Brewery. Thank you for watching this episode of What the Brew here on Ideal Homebrewing, where we talked about Belgian beers. If you made it this far in the video, give yourself a pat on the back because I very much appreciate you. If you guys haven't already, make sure you mash that like button and subscribe if you haven't, because I promise you, you're not going to want to miss this next video. Everything in this box here is what I need to brew my very own Belgian beer, and we'll be doing that next video. As always, links will be down in the description for everything that I talked about today. That way you can explore it on your own, check out the breweries, show them some love. Thank you guys, and cheers to you. Westvleteren. Trappist Westvleteren. Westvleteren.